Let me check. This is the very first budget that the Board of Selectmen will review this year.
I'm going to ask in the future, you always put us forward. I think it's a good idea.
Because we're still in a good mood?
That.
I'm not Lisa Timothy,
Okay.
You weren't?
Dave,
but I'm going to start.
you want to sit, because that's where the camera's on right there, Dave. So you're,
Yeah, Dave, sit down next to Anna.
No.
And we could do the podium too if, okay. Okay, Dave, welcome, and I think you're going to start us off?
Yeah, I think I know everybody up here.
Yeah.
So introduction isn't too necessary, but just for the record, my name is David Jacobs, 8 Spencer Avenue in Niantic. And the reason I'm going to say just a very few quick words before Lisa comes up is I'm president of the Board of Trustees of the library. And what I want to mention is that our budget and our situation with regard to the town is a little bit different than virtually all the other boards and commissions that will be appearing before you and eventually the Board of Finance regarding the budget. And that difference is we're not literally or legally a function of the town of East Lyme government. We're a private, nonprofit corporation, but we have roughly a $1.3 million budget, and about 95% of that comes from a grant from the town of East Lyme. Most people don't even understand the relationship that we're not part of the town government, literally. And I just want to say one word about that, and then we can get on to the budget. Roughly 50%, I think it's like 45, 55%, or close to 50% of the municipalities in the state of Connecticut have a relationship between the library and the town similar to ours, where it's not strictly, literally, legally a function of the town government, but an independent private nonprofit corporation. The reason it's roughly split 50-50 is because there are advantages and disadvantages to both arrangements. Here in East Lyme, traditionally, we've been the mechanism or the scheme that we are a private nonprofit rather than an organization within the structure of the town government. We feel very strongly that that's an advantage both to the library and the town, and it's been that way for many, many, many years. But I just wanted to make that clear to the board that that unique relationship exists. We're not part, literally, of the town government, but an independent nonprofit. Lastly, I just wanted to mention this, and it's connected to our relationship. Over many, many, many years, the town has been very generous with the library and supporting the library with our budget requirements and in other ways. And this has been continuous, as I say, for many, many years under both Democratic and Republican boards and first selectmen, almost without exception. The Board of Finance and the town of East Lyme has been very generous to the library, and we appreciate it, and we hope that will continue. Lastly, Lisa, I think, distributed our new annual report. As you probably will notice, it's a brand new format this year.
Wow, beautiful.
We hope it's easier to read, easier to understand. We took out a lot of the statistics, which we thought were just, well, frankly, boring and not that significant in terms of understanding our function and our governance without sacrificing transparency. So I hope you'll all get a chance to read our new annual report, and with that, we can turn to the budget. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Lisa Timothy, and she can address all budget questions. Lisa?
Thank you, David.
Thanks.
And thank you for your service on your,
Yes.
it's a labor of love, I know.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. You've done great work.
All right.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi there. Good evening. And I wanted to thank Dave for saying a few words. As he said, over the past year, we've come to a realization that we need to do a better job of portraying how much business we do and how big and complicated a department we are. One of the reasons I like going first is that while we're not the Board of Ed, we're also not the typical department that comes through here with just a few people. I report to two boards, the Board of Trustees and the Foundation Board. I have 29 employees, so when I'm sitting here, I'm really sitting here for 66 people in the town who look after the library. And we have one of the bigger budgets, so that sets us off and makes us a little different. We also have public and private streams of money, and as Dave said, an unusual relationship with the town, a very good one over the years. And so we've wanted to do a better job over the past year to do that. Again, one of the ways we've done that is to go ahead and change the format. That used to be this little booklet. It's now
Much
the
better.
new and improved. To back up in a much easier way to read what kind of things, how much business we do at the library. The other thing is I worked with Anna earlier this year to redo the budget that you have in front of you. It may not look much shorter, but it is shorter, and I think it's a lot more streamlined, so it's easier to understand. And before I start, I did want to also, like Dave, thank you for the support that the town of East Lyme does give to the library. One of the things that sets East Lyme apart is its support of the library. It's one of the things that makes our town worth living in and worth being part of. This year's budget is pretty straightforward. It is the smallest increase that's been asked for in at least 10 years. It's a very flat budget. It's not very complicated. The only increases are for staff salary and for the health insurance. Everything else is flat. We're not undertaking any dramatic changes or initiatives this year. And we're not looking for any capital funds this year either. If you turn to page 3, I have summarized what I just said under fiscal year 21 budget. Again, this is a pretty straightforward budget. I've simplified and explained where the funding sources from the library come from. There's a town subsidy. We do an annual fund drive each year that raises some private money that we're able to do different things with. We have the East Lyme Library Foundation, which houses an endowment that's almost $1 million. They do a distribution each year that helps support us. And a second endowment was set up about 10 years ago at the Community Foundation of Eastern Connecticut. And so some funding, not a lot, but some comes through there. And we've done a really good job of growing that endowment. Most of the libraries in southeastern Connecticut that got that money spent it on something. We reinvested it into an endowment, and we've made $50,000 in the past 10 years in order to support ourselves and to be fiscally responsible. Revenues and fees on page 4. We are a public library, so we're not able to charge for our services by law. But in spite of that, we do find other ways, whether it's our annual fund drive or the endowments, to make money. Our copy machines, we can make some money from. And one of the best parts of our new annual report is the very last page, the back cover. This is a return on investment for the East Lyme Public Library for the town of East Lyme. And it shows that for roughly every dollar that the East Lyme gives in funding, the town of East Lyme gives in funding, the town gets about $2.50 worth in services back. And that's broken down on that page when you have time to look at it. So rather than being a profit-making center, we are an investment for the town. And what we're showing you here is the proof that we do put a lot back into the economy, in the local economy, even though we're not set up to do that. Again, we've had a bumpy few years with the health insurance and the up and down with the budget. We've had a good stable year this year. We're looking for a good stable year next year. We're spending a lot of time with the Plan of Conservation Development. Larry Fitzgerald, our vice president, is an active part of that, and him and I have been working closely for the past few months to write in what vision we have for both the library and the community center in the next 10 years and how we need to grow and change a little bit. So again, for the next year, we're not planning anything big, but we're starting to think 10 years out and plan that out. Page 5 is just the 5 and 6 are the operating budget for the library. And again, the only two lines that have increases are the wages and the health insurance. Everything else is pretty flat. Page 7 is the revenue that from different places that we get, or that we expect for the next year. Page 8 is the annual fund drive. That's the private money that we raise each year. And we spell out how we use that to support the library so that we're not totally asking the town for everything. We do what we can. The very bottom one under expenses is a new line, it's weekend custodial coverage. The library is covering Sunday custodial coverage for the town while the library is open. So that gives the opportunity for other people in the town to be able to use the community center on Sundays now as well. We've always been open Sundays. We've never had any custodial coverage, and that's often been problematic. The building is very busy, and we want to do our fair share in making sure that we have enough coverage. So we're using some of the private money to cover that for the town. And the last page is just an extra. It's a breakdown of our book budget, our audiovisual budget, and our programming budget, because there's been confusion with other boards on how we fund those things, and so we wanted to just clarify that. Okay, and with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
It's a great thorough budget, as we know, or they might not know, that this being the first budget. Salaries are up 2.25%.
2.5.
2.5 in your group?
Yeah, I usually match the union, and when I meet with the union, I forgot to check with you on this one.
Okay, and health insurance is up 9%.
Right.
And that's what we're calculating for the
Yep.
state health insurance plan to go up 9%.
Right. Yep, and that's it. That's the only
Okay.
conditions we have.
And that's wonderful. And your group does a fantastic job of raising other funds to enhance beyond just the
What we can
operating
do.
costs.
We do
which
what we can do.
Provide for. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Yes, Mark.
In your detailed budget accounts, I noticed your hourly wages is down 10,000 from last year. And it's, you had an 18, 150, 142, 19, 20, 150, and you're asking for 140. Is there a change in?
Yes, actually, what we've done is we had an accountant, a part-time accountant, Judy Layden, who passed away very suddenly. And we had to absorb her job because we didn't have a lot of time in the middle of the year to hire and whatnot. And we've restructured so that the assistant director has now become the accountant, and we've put in more work on another one of our staff members, which was kind of hard. What I've done is taken some of that money, and I'd have it set aside so that I can do things to hire part-time employees to do things like put together the annual report. We're hiring different hourly employees with different skills to do things like grant writing and the publications. We also have restructured our Sundays so that we have one less person on the desk. We've often heard that we could get by with less people. It's a stretch, but we're giving it a try for the year, and we're going to try it again next year. And we do that on Tuesday nights as well. So we have tried to cut down on the number of staff that we have at the desks.
Okay.
So
Great.
it's
Appreciate
really
you finding
really
efficiencies.
pushing it though.
Thank you. Yep.
But we're doing what we can,
Yeah.
and we're trying to be a little more flexible in how we use some of that part time.
Great.
So.
Thank you.
Lisa, you indicate visits, and one of the things I think you've brought up over the last couple of years is you're seeing a significant increase in usage of the library. You're still seeing the increase there?
Yeah, actually, I have the door counts. Let me my file here. I can.
Because I've seen on page 3 of the handout, you've got some information.
Where's my door counts? Bear with me for 1 minute. I've
Sure.
got tons of things to back up everything I've said. So. Here we go.
Here's a page 3.
And that one copy, but they're not up dramatically, but and again, we did have to close Sundays last
Right,
spring,
which would have...
but I took the data from the year before that Sundays, if we had been open Sundays, and sort of put that in to estimate how many visits we lost when we had to
Right.
close Sundays. So if you add those in, you'll see that it's not a huge increase, but it is a steady increase of number of people coming
It
to the
is.
library. We're seeing a huge increase online with the e-books and the use of downloadable materials. That's gone from 2% of our circulation to 10% of our circulation in the
Okay.
past few years.
Which is not surprising, yeah.
Right, and that mirrors the trends in the state. All of what we're seeing is demonstrated throughout the state of Connecticut with public libraries. We're
Okay.
matching those trends.
And one other question, I see you say you offer notary services. Are you seeing an increase there? Because I know some banks have stopped doing notary services. Our town clerk hasn't, but there are town clerks that don't necessarily do it unless it's a town-related type thing. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you're seeing an increase there.
we had 100 last year. I don't do them, my assistant director does them, so I don't know what the numbers are for this fiscal year.
Okay.
She just gives them to me at the end of the year, but we do about 100 a year. What's nice is that once we actually had a woman who was homebound who needed a notary service, and she was going to try to figure out a way, and we were able to send Tara to her house to just do the notary and whatnot, and make sure that that got done. So we have a little flexibility. It's one of the better services we've added, and we don't charge.
Yeah.
So people appreciate that.
It's a
It's something.
floodgate.
Yeah, that's-
Just open the floodgates.
I just opened the floodgates,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
again, that's the service we should be providing for the town. So
Yeah,
I'm
actually,
hoping I'm opening the
most notary,
floodgates.
because I'm a notary too, and you just don't, because it's usually a friend that asks you to do it, so you try
Yeah,
not
no,
to.
we get a few a week.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and again, we can help people
Okay.
in
Okay, and thank you
certain
for,
situations.
for the product and the way you, come up with ways to support your projects too, so thank you.
We'd be here for hours talking about all the things you do.
Yes, that's what I'm
Um,
trying to convey.
and
Not,
we
I don't want to
have
take up your
spent
time.
time.
Yeah, we
I
have.
get it. I get
But
it.
we're
We still
a bigger
deliver-
department than people. People think a library, it's cute, it's got
Yeah.
books, it's a little room. It's much
Still
more than
deliver
that.
books too. to
We do
homebound.
homebound delivery for
Yeah.
people who are homebound. Yep.
Amazing. Mr. Cunningham, anything?
No, I think most of my
Sure.
questions have been answered.
Mr. David? Anything?
Yeah, just probably my lack of understanding. But your fund drive is 64,000, right? That's what you expect to bring in total.
We raise between 32 and 35,000 a year.
Oh, and then you add the fund balance there, that's what you have to take out of your,
That's sometimes what we carry over. We don't always spend from year to year.
and the only
So
reason I asked
and these are all estimates. Things come up and we,
is because on your revenue page, you did 58,000 in 18, 67,000 in 19, 20, you thought you were only gonna bring in 25, and you lowered that by another 5 to
Yep.
20 for 2021.
most of that is in the credit forward, you'll notice. The health insurance over the past few years has been either overfunded or underfunded. This year, you'll remember if you back up to last year at this time, we had to close the library and cut the book budget in half because we were expecting a huge healthcare bill. It didn't come in as big as we thought, but at the end of the year when we moved everything around, we didn't have as much to carry forward. And I'm hoping in the future to continue that trend. We shouldn't be having this outrageous carry forward that's off by whatever. With the new health insurance, we're doing a lot better in
Yeah.
predicting how much we'll have from year to year. So it's not so much that we're not taking in more, it's just that we're getting a little more accurate from one year to the next in what we do.
And then not planning on doing any transfers from your annual fund for this year and next year? I see you didn't-
No, that was a one-time thing where we took the private money to pay for the health insurance because we were in crisis, and we don't usually, that money's usually not supposed to be used for health insurance. It was a one-time thing where we had those reserves and we could put it in order to keep the library open and keep the books going for that year. Last year, we had to close on Sundays and we had to cut the book budget because there was no, there wasn't a lot of room to move. Our annual fund, private money, does also fund a lot of our books and programming. It does fund almost all of our capital expenses, not the big ones like the painting and the carpet, but we run a network of 41 computers, half of them for the public, half of them for the staff, and we get nothing for the town for that. We do all of our own maintenance. We buy all the computers, all the installation, fax machines, copy machines, stuff like that, all insurance, all of that we do independently, and some of that comes out of the annual fund drive. We do set aside some for capital, future capital costs. And again, I talked about the plan of conservation and development and some of the things that we want to build over the next 10 years. We are starting to put aside funding so that we won't have to come to you and say, can you fund this whole huge thing? We can say that we have some ideas and we have some funding set aside for some of it, but we might need some help depending on the situation and what gets
Okay,
decided
thank you.
on. Okay.
Wonderful.
For example, the children's room, we're restructuring that a little bit later this year when the carpet gets changed. We need space for little kids and space for big kids, and so we've been dividing and redecorating the room, and we're going to change some things in there, and all of that will be private money. We're not asking the town for that.
I do have one, I have a
Yep.
question. On the fines and fees,
Mm-hmm.
your projection is 5,000
Yes.
instead of 10,000?
Yep.
What caused it to go
We
down?
stopped charging children fines over the past year, and that's a trend in public libraries is to go fine-free. We had certain children whose parents were using their cards and blocking their children from using the library because they had fines. It was getting a little questionable. And we realize also children can't drive themselves to the library and return the books. It doesn't set a good, what am I trying to say, a good mission for the library to be funding it based on people misusing it. What we're doing instead is automatically renewing, and then when people bring books back late, we ask for a donation or whatnot. And so we did that with the children's fines. We estimated we would lose $2,000. We only lost $200. So just by asking instead of fining and with a negative, we're finding that some of the money was coming through. So we completely eliminated fines for children. And we are also automatically renewing. It used to be you would your book's due in 3 weeks, and if you don't have it, well, now you've got a fine. We automatically renew, so that, and just send an email to the person. We were able to do that with technology, saying now we've renewed your book, it's still back. We only do that once. You can't take the book and keep it for 6 years. That's a problem. If you lose the book, if you don't bring it back, that's a problem. We'll still charge you. But we're trying to set the way that we do business is not as in a more positive light, that people can use the library at their convenience and whatnot. And many libraries have found that that's a lot more successful. And we find that there are people who don't use the library. You know, parents will tell their kids, well, if you don't bring that back, you'll get a fine, so we're not going to use the library. And we want to get away from that. We want people to use the library.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Thank you.
Interesting.
we've been
Very
doing that.
interesting, thank you.
Any follow-up questions? It's a terrific presentation. Appreciate you coming as well and setting the tone. And
Most of the rest.
your board, you want to
Yeah, your
introduce them?
Yes. Dina Berry. If you want to just
Dina?
raise your hands. Dina is part of our Moms Club. They've raised some money for us this year also in a bake sale.
Great.
And brought in a few $100s for the library. Molly Helms is our secretary.
Hey, Molly.
Incredible supporter. John McCarris is our treasurer. He looks over every penny every 4 weeks of what we do. So the idea that you hand me a check and I could do whatever, no. John is in charge of watching, and he helps us with insurance and other fiscal matters too. Plus, he has a really good car that he brings to our car show in the
I was
summer.
going to ask.
That was his car.
That's his car. Yeah.
Wow.
I figured out.
Wow.
He's
That's
a good guy
nice.
to have
I don't want
around.
to put it on the record, but since you brought it.
Yeah. Abe Fisher has been involved with the library for decades and decades, and
Yeah,
so
forever, yeah.
he's just an honorary. You know, he does a lot of work for the library and has for many years. And of course, Dave Jacobs. And you'll also see in that pamphlet that Dave won a trustee award, statewide trustee award, for the amount of work that he's done for the library.
It's
We nominated
well-deserved,
him.
too, and
Yeah.
well-earned.
He's on his 3rd decade of service to the library. He doesn't miss a meeting, and
Right.
he keeps us all on our toes in what we're doing. He's been real supportive. Did I miss?
And Mrs. Fisher, too.
And Mrs. Fisher. Yeah, Mrs. Fisher's here too, accompanying. So.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, like I said, it's not just me. They feel a need to be here and to be responsible.
And
for
we
the library as
appreciate
well.
you finding ways to cut back on staff and try to keep your budget in
Yeah.
line. It's only up, it's less than 1%. And that's tough to do with, 2.5% increases and 9% in health.
And health insurance, yeah.
And that's what drives all our budgets is
Mhm.
is the wages and health. So
Yeah,
we
right now
appreciate that.
we're good for another year, and then we'll start thinking long-term and writing grants and whatnot, so.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right,
Thank you,
all.
Lisa.
Thank you all for your service to the town.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lisa, do you want to take this back on the door count speak?
Yes.
Thank you for that, too.
Thank you.
Parks and Rec is next.
Okay, because Joe's thinking I'm putting them in. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know how to do it.
Oh, we get the big ones out of the way tonight.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, I'll be.
Thank you. We took you away from the Miracle League tonight.
And if you turn to page 3.
All right.
Oh, no, he's trying to point out the first Selectmen's Corner.
If you turn to page 3,
Oh, that's a nice furniture display at the bottom of that, you're right, very nice. Saybrook Home
That is nice.
and
Thank you,
Fashion.
Ken.
Thank you for pointing that out to us.
The picture above it may reduce the sales a little bit, but
He said that.
Dave Putnam, Parks and Rec. How are you, Dave?
Good, how are you?
Want to take us through a journey here tonight?
Sure, absolutely. So the first thing I passed out, this is our events magazine that comes out quarterly. Very proud of this publication. We have a great relationship with Essex Printing. And this doesn't cost us anything to send out to every home in East Lyme and Niantic. So again, on a quarterly basis. I did put some information in the packet for you. some things to kind of discuss, just some bullet points here on this first page here, and just wanted to get some things out there. One of the things that we looked at is our beach pass revenue over the last 5 years, and you can kind of see where we've gone from 2015 to 2019. Is a pretty significant increase in that, and that is all based on how we set our fees and how the commission has set their fees over the past few years. We did establish a beach enterprise fund, and the last fiscal year was the first year of it, so we got a pretty good idea where we were at. The balance in that account is $64,000 after the first year. Just be cognizant, $50,800 of that was the state of Connecticut's anticipated impact to Cheney Park over the next couple of years and lost in revenue. So really that first fiscal year, we were somewhere in the neighborhood in the plus about $12,500, $13,000 in that first year from revenues to expenses. So thought it was a very good first year and a good barometer moving forward for where we're at as far as that is concerned. The next thing that is kind of concerning for us, especially park and rec professionals throughout the state, is the increase in the minimum wage. So I just wanted to throw that out to you guys. That is coming up in the next 5 years, or actually the next 40 months. So they do, each year it's a month earlier. So if we look at that impact, October 1st of this year, it went up to $11 an hour. Next year on September 1st, it goes to $12. And then August 1st to $13, July 1st of 2022, and then June 1st of 2023. So there's going to be a fiscal year in there where we get whacked twice.
Yes,
Right.
I see that.
With that
yeah.
increase in the minimum wage. So that's a little concerning. At least it's at the tail end of this, and we can kind of plan for that a little bit. But it does have a significant impact on two areas for us. One is our programming fees, especially with our playground program, with us hiring mostly high school and college kids, and also our beach staff. So we're looking at this first year of just with that minimum wage increase of a 10% increase in our just in our payroll account for those kids that are moving from $10.10 an hour to $11 an hour now, and then that's going to significantly go up again in the next 40 months. It's not even a true 4 or 5 years. It's really a 40-month period. So just it is what it is, and we'll deal with it, and it'll be passed on to user fees and McCook fees and that kind of thing. We had a great special events year. Very proud of the events that we sponsor, and there's a list of those here. One of the things, our music concert series took off this past summer. If you happened to be at any of our events, we have a good problem in that we're going to have to deal with parking issues on Friday nights and also managing people, and which is a great problem. So we will do that, and we're already in the plans to do that. Excuse me. One of the other impacts that we had this past fall, and I wanted to bring out, is the triple E effect that it had in this past fall. And we had a curfew on most of our youth sports leagues and outdoor activities of, I think it was 5 p.m. that we had set that until probably late October, mid to late October, before that was relieved. Moving forward, I did reach out to a company and got some quotes on what we're going to do if the town decides to get into a spraying option or treating the certain areas. So I've done some of that research. I've got a quote. I met with a company that gave me a quote. And so, there's a whole myriad of different things that we can choose from as far as how aggressive we want to get, or if that is something